We have 10 news about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI and SSDI. Continue watching this because you definitely don't want to miss out on this important news that we have for you guys. Economists have said that inflation is cooling in the US, but prices remain high. With gas and energy prices rising new highs, Americans are urging for the government to approve at least one more round of stimulus. Lawmakers in numerous states are taking action to address the issue. And even though many economists have been saying that inflation is cooling, it sure doesn't feel like anything is getting cheaper. That's because most things aren't. Inflation is expressed as a rate of change, and it is true that prices are in fact growing at a slower rate, what's known as disinflation. But to the average American, their living experience is actually everything that's more expensive than it used to be. While the Consumer Price Index captures the headline rate of inflation, the Bureau of Labor Statistics also publishes a separate report of the average price data that reflects what Americans are actually paying for. Basic items like ground beef and potato chips cost dollars more on average than they did before the crisis. Gas prices are rising again, and electric and other costs are just elevated. Grocery prices have fallen in the last 3 months, but hardly enough to make a dent after 2 years of increases. The problem is wages that haven't kept up. Earnings growth only just started to outpace inflation in recent months, but before then, Americans had effectively experienced 2 years of declining purchasing power. Inflation has been an obstacle for Joe Biden's presidency. His approval rating has consistently stayed below 50% in the past 2 years, since the pressures ramped up. Now, easing inflation doesn't take away from all that Americans have sacrificed for the high cost of living. They have largely been on relying more credit cards and saving less, which has pushed up delinquency rates. And even according to the Department of Revenue, the state is actually already issuing income tax rebates. The rebate amount depends on the Montana taxpayer's filing status and the amount of tax paid that year. Lawmakers in New Mexico have promised another round of rebates, and many have been sent out already.
My colleagues and I are acutely aware that high inflation poses significant hardship, especially on those least able to meet the higher costs of essentials like food, housing, and transportation. We are highly attentive to the risks that high inflation poses to both sides of our mandate, and we're strongly committed to returning inflation to our 2% objective. Against the backdrop of the rapidly evolving economic environment, our policy has been adapting, and it will continue to do so. With inflation well above our longer-run goal of 2% and an extremely tight labor market, we raised the target range for the federal funds rate at each of our past 3 meetings, resulting.
President Biden, folks, is traveling to more states to draw up more support for his bipartisan infrastructure package, as well as additional plans for investing in families. But governors are criticizing Speaker Pelosi and Chuck Schumer for not already passing the infrastructure bill. What are your thoughts on Speaker Pelosi, everybody, and the Democrats? And who do you think is holding back our stimulus check? Is it senators like Joe Manchin, or is it Mitch McConnell? Tell me who's to blame, everybody, for holding back the fourth stimulus check. Feel free to comment down below. And also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and give this video a like. On this channel, folks, I always do my best in providing you with the most up-to-date and reliable stimulus check news. Now, President Biden.
And we made a decision there and then that our top priority would be to get you relief, to get working people relief, to get checks in pockets and tax credits in bank accounts. And with the help of this labor union, we delivered that relief. And I want to thank you on behalf of the President and myself for the work you did.
Just talked up his bipartisan infrastructure package, as well as additional plans for investing in families and education. President Biden is on a trip to Michigan. It's part of his broader campaign by the administration to bring public support to the infrastructure package and other policies that are geared toward families and education. First Lady Joe Biden is going to Maine and New Hampshire as well, while Vice President Kamala Harris is scheduled to visit a union training center in Las Vegas. Joe Biden said the key is getting his $973 billion deal passed involves taking a case straight to the voters, while Republicans and Democrats might squabble in Washington. Biden's theory is that lawmakers of both parties want to deliver for the constituents. White House officials negotiated the compromise with a bipartisan group of senators led by Republican Rob Portman of Ohio and Democrat Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona. The agreement features $109 billion on roads and highways, $15 billion on electric vehicle infrastructure and transit systems, and $65 billion toward broadband, among other spending on airports, drinking water system, and effort to take down climate change. The White House officials negotiated the compromise with a bipartisan group of senators led by Republican Rob Portman and Kyrsten Sinema.
There is a move not to preserve Social Security from those on the other side of the aisle, too many of them, but to end it.
The president intends to pass additional initiatives on education and families, as well as tax increases on the wealthy and corporations through the budget reconciliation process. This would allow the passage of President Biden's priorities by a simple majority vote, avoiding the 60-vote hurdle and a Senate split evenly between Democrats and Republicans. But during a town hall meeting, Maryland Governor Larry Hogan toward House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer for holding the bipartisan infrastructure bill endorsed by Biden in order to gain leverage on other spending bills. Larry Hogan spoke about the $953 billion infrastructure bill that was endorsed by Biden, saying the plan will put Americans back to work and will improve the American infrastructure. Hogan called the bipartisan bill a moment for us to show the American people that Congress is able to work together to deliver bipartisan, common sense solutions to all of our problems. What are your thoughts on Speaker Pelosi, everybody, and Chuck Schumer? Are they doing all that it takes to help out the American people like you and I? Leave a comment down below, folks, saying yes or no. Governor Hogan also stated that they're holding the bill as leverage for other spending bills, that we can debate about whether these are worthwhile proposals or not, but they have nothing to do with infrastructure and they don't have bipartisan support. The governor of Maryland then talked about President Biden, saying that instead of taking the huge win they seem to have wanted to make happen, President Biden is risking the derailing of the bipartisan agreement. Well, folks, the White House pointed to comments that Press Secretary Jen Psaki made on Tuesday, where she stated that Biden made clear that he's going to work his heart out on getting both bills across the finish line. In regards to your tax refunds, folks, the March American Rescue Plan excludes the first $10,200 of unemployment benefits as non-taxable income. The tax agency said at least 13 million people who filed their tax returns before the change in law took place may be eligible for a refund. The tax break is for those who earned less than $150,000 in AGI, or just the gross income. The $10,200 is the amount of income exclusion for single filers, not the amount of the refund. The amount of the refund will vary per person depending on overall income, tax bracket, and how much earnings came from unemployment benefits. Folks, that's all the news in this video. And if you guys found this video useful and helpful, feel free to subscribe to my channel and give this video a like. As always, everybody, I truly appreciate everybody's amazing support. Until next time, have a great day and stay safe.
To salute the chairman of the Transportation Infrastructure Committee, Chairman Peter DeFazio. Because of his leadership, we are bringing a bill to the floor today that not only builds the infrastructure of America, but helps to rebuild the middle class. It does so in a transformative way, and you'll hear about it from